Imagine dropping $1 billion to get the rights to The Lord of the Rings and to make a show, and then releasing nothing but teasers 2 months before the show debuts. I give you Amazon's The Rings of Power. So try to work out this marketing strategy. You have a show that since its announcement has been met with a mixed, mostly negative response. The easiest way to change that response would be to show more of the show to prove it won't be bad. But instead of doing that, you release a 4th teaser trailer just 2 months before the show's debut, and you still don't explain a damn thing about the show in the trailer. I've watched the trailer twice. I know there are some elves and dwarves and black people dressed in weeds, but I don't know anything about the story. Of all the things you'd want to tell potential viewers, it would be the point of the show. It doesn't actually take long. Remember the trailer for Spider-Man, Still Searching for the Far Home Alone? Remember how Marvel showed that Peter wanted to fix things by using magic, but made Doctor Strange mess up the spell, and this resulted in villains from the previous Spider-Man films crossing over into the MCU? That's the plot, right there. We got the main plot in 2 minutes. Meanwhile, Amazon just keeps teasing people. Why won't you tell us what the story is about? Is there a reason you don't want us to know? Instead, we get this.
There was a time when the world was so young, there had not yet been a sunrise. But even then, there was light.
So I'm going to stop here to say, 1, this looks awesome. In fact, most of the VFX in this trailer look great. It's not surprising. A fair amount of this was handled by Weta, and they know what they're doing. This is absolutely gorgeous, and exactly what I imagined the 2 trees would look like. 2, make note of what the narrator is saying. She's talking about Valinor, the land of the Valar, the gods. So you'd assume that whoever is speaking is an elf, probably Galadriel, because it would make sense that she would know this story. But no, it's a hobbit, Harfoot. Now, I'll just set aside how utterly bizarre it is to have black hobbits when Tolkien based the hobbits on rural English people, most likely based on the Worcestershire area near Birmingham where he grew up. However, that's less of a problem, because how does this hobbit know about the 2 trees? The Calaquendi, the elves who saw the light of the trees, settled in Beleriand, which by this point has fallen into the sea. Most of them returned to Valinor after Morgoth's defeat, and the few who remained stayed west of the Misty Mountains. That's important because they would be the ones to tell those stories, and the hobbits haven't made it that far west. In fact, they appear to be traveling west in the trailer. So how the hell does she know about the 2 trees? How would she even know this?
Elves have forests to protect, dwarfs their mines, mend their fields of grain.
All the major kingdoms of all 3 races would be in the west, where the hobbits are going, but have not yet been. So how does she know this? I'm sure this is going to be some nonsense about hearing it from the Númenóreans, who were sailors. However, there's a problem. The timeline. Since the timeline has been condensed, depending on how much they condensed it, there might not be enough time for the Númenóreans to have traveled that far east, certainly not by land, and there's also the pesky problem that the hobbits were basically unheard of until the Third Age, which implies they had few interactions with men, dwarves, and elves. So again, how does she know this? Then we get the scene of Galadriel, warrior princess, being unmanned, as it were, by Elrond.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel. Put up your sword.
You literally did the thing that damn near ruined Arwen and pretty much ruined Tariel. Did you learn nothing? You don't have to put a sword in a woman's hand to make her strong. Even young Galadriel's power lay in her wisdom. But weirder is that Elrond would be the one lecturing her about not fighting. This is the same guy who instantly reads Annatar, or Sauron, for what he is, and blocked him from entering Lindon. There's nothing to suggest Elrond assumed that evil had been defeated. As a lore master, he would know better. Weirder still is this.
You have not seen what I've seen.
I have seen my share.
You have not seen.
Okay, 2 points. 1, that shot looks badass. This is the aftermath of the War Raft when Beleriand fell into the sea. Very cool. But 2, Elrond would have been old enough to see this. He would have been in elf years in his tweens, and likely near the area, unlike Galadriel, who had already passed over the Misty Mountains over 100 years before the War Raft. She literally doesn't witness any of this. And then, as if to purposefully make Elrond look stupid, the next scene has Gil-galad, the guy who basically raised him and taught Elrond what he knows, telling Elrond that evil is coming.
Darkness will march over the face of the earth. It will be the end, not just of our people, but all peoples.
So we have our budding healer and lore master, what, ignoring the word of two of the oldest and strongest elves in Middle-earth? Okay. And yes, I saw the Black Tar Miriel. I saw her. I'm not going to get into it. I'm just going to say that she and our Farazan are cousins. First, cousins. This is our Farazan, white as the driven snow. Also, Miriel is a direct descendant of Tar Miniatur, or Elros. If you want to know what he looked like, he looks like this, because he's Elrond's twin brother. I think that's enough for you to make the connections yourself. Sister Girl doesn't even look the slightest bit mixed. But, okay, moving on.
The past is with us all. The past is dead.
Excuse me, I thought this was the Rings of Power, not the Last Jedi. But then again, this might be the one time that I want you to subvert expectations. Then we get a bunch of random scenes that hint at things maybe involving the Great Rings, but nothing of substance. However, we do get this. Yes, that looks like the Great Eye, so this might be Sauron. You know what? Don't care. Nope. No singing. You don't get to do that, because I still have no idea what the hell is going on in this show. I mean, I don't even know whose story we're supposed to be following. What is this show about? You remember how HBO put out a teaser for the House of Dragon and let us know it's about the Targaryens infighting? A minute 45, and we got everything we needed to know. We're at least 6 minutes into 4 different teaser trailers from Amazon, and I have no idea what anyone's motivations are, who they're supposed to be up against, what any of their names are, or why I should even care. I have a feeling that part of this is because a lot of the show is about the Amazon characters, not the Tolkien characters, but those are the characters people want to see, so Amazon's trying to avoid giving that away. I could be wrong, but I have a feeling I'm not. And at that point, when you're really telling a story about your original characters instead of the ones everyone knows, wouldn't it have been better to just make your own fantasy story? Wouldn't that have solved the time condensing, the race bending, and lore breaking problems? You could have avoided them entirely by just making something up. Hell, y'all could have rang up some living fantasy author to create a world for you like Brandon Sanderson or Jim Butcher or George R.R. Martin. It's not like he's doing anything. You could have done that, and then had your inexplicably racially diverse Benetton fantasy. At least then you could create a lore reason for why so many black people are in white fantasy land, and why, contrary to everything we've ever seen, they get along peacefully with no racism whatsoever. I mean, even Tolkien wrote racism into his stories, and all the characters are white. Instead, you're still putting out eye candy teasers 2 months from the show's debut. Tell me what the show is about. I already have low expectations. If they got any lower, I'd reach the Earth's core. So just tell me what the story is about, who we're supposed to root for, and who we're supposed to fear. Give me something to work with other than good VFX, because Weta cannot save you. I mean, these orcs look absolutely stunning. Just perfection. And yet, you can still jack up this story. So just give it to me, because I kind of want to get this over with. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.